the more honesty we present to each other, the more abundant our wisdom will become. And then we will really start encouraging each other, and we will support each other's growth instead of limiting it. Hello everyone, welcome and welcome back. My name is Jennifer EIREEN from the Web of Wonder, and you guessed it, we have another new moon happening on the 4th of August. And the year is just really moving forwards. We've reached this time where it feels like everything is speeding up, or maybe you felt like this all year. Times are crazy anyways. So let's take a moment to really look at what is going on, find out some of the opportunities and the possibilities that this new moon is bringing us. And I'm also going to share some insights about the Mercury retrograde in the month of August and really the initiation that I feel we are going through at this time. So I hope you enjoy. We have a new moon, and a new moon is a time for a new beginning. It's a time for planting seeds. It's a time for honoring the releasing process that comes with every new beginning. So it's always a good time to let something go, and it's a time to invite something in, to manifest, to really consciously choose what seeds want to be nourished, and to think about what that nourishing shall look like with the upcoming moon cycle. So with the new moon in Leo, what does this tell us? What does this bring us? Leo is an energy of creation. It's an energy of self-expression. And it's this very individual understanding of who you are as a being and of your personal identity. And it's not this Aries kind of way of just expressing and doing and becoming an individual, but it's more so really an urge, a desire to get something out, to really release something into the world, to leave an impact, to create almost like a reaction. Yeah, it's a desire for wanting to be not just someone in the world, but to be someone who is noticed in the world. So this is a good moment to really reflect on your gifts, your passions, the self-expression that you feel you want to offer to the world. Leo is not only the energy of art and of creativity in the sense of crafting something, but beyond that, it's also self-expression, leaving something behind, for example, in the form of birthing children, creating a family, of performance, of performing something. So it's this form of self-expression that also has an impact into the world, and that is where this axis is noticeable of Leo on one side and Aquarius on the other side. Yeah, it's the self-expression that is inherently connected to the bigger collective experience, to the consciousness of the whole world, of also doing art that has a humanitarian impact, of expressing yourself and understanding the importance of that self-expression and weaving it into the purpose of a bigger humanitarian knowledge, wisdom, and idea. So it's a beautiful time to really honor that these soul gifts, this purpose, and these desires, the ways in which you really want to express yourself in the world, that they come with a purpose, they come with a reason, and they are also here to be integrated into that Aquarian consciousness. We have right now Pluto sitting in 0 degrees of Aquarius, and while Pluto is retrograding, taking another look back, taking a step back into that Capricorn energy of really revisiting the systems and already kind of having viewed and felt, physically sensed the new ways of being, now taking another look back and really feeling where are we still not finished with the process. But this 0 degrees Aquarius energy and Pluto being there really focuses on all of the potential. And so together with this new moon, this is a beautiful moment to really understand on a deeper level of the potential of you expressing yourself, and not just expressing for the sake of expressing, yeah, not just performing to get any reaction, but performing and expressing to get a reaction that is deeply meaningful to you, and therefore it is deeply meaningful to the world. Because if every human being here, if every part of the conscious experience expresses themselves truly and most authentically, then we are able to have the most honest communication with each other. And through that honesty, through that authentic expression, we are able to actually hear and listen and understand what is needed, what changes are wanted, how we feel, how we relate to each other. And we can open up to much more joy and playfulness because we can honestly understand our impact in the world. And that helps us choose. That helps us choose more wisely. It helps us reflect more wisely. It's a big process of growth and understanding and learning that we're in right now. It's like we're children growing up. And in the moment of Leo, it's like, well, what do we want to be when we're grown up? So the question is not what job do you want to have? Yeah, because this is not about how you make your money. This is not about what you live, like how you live on a daily basis and all of the tiny micro choices you make. Also, it is a little bit about that because of Mercury, but I'll get there in a moment. But this is really about what do you want to emit to the world as a being, a frequency? What emotions do you want to send out to people? How do you want to present yourself to the world? What types of interactions are you going to engage in? And when I say performing, I don't mean pretending to be something, but performing something that is your skill, something that you are good at, and that can be acting. We tend to relate the word performance with like acting or being on a stage, but this can be very mundane things as well. How do you perform within your family? How do you perform within your neighborhood, within your community? How do you perform your own ability, your own skill? How do you perform your knowledge in the world? All of the things that you've collected, all of these insights and these inspirations that you have, how do you perform them into society? So I feel like we're going on a journey of understanding that deeper, and we have some beautiful supportive aspects for that as well. We have a trine right now between the new moon and the north node, which means it's a sextile with the south node. And this trine is really highlighting that these insights we're having right now and this process that we're going through is a really big and important part of the collective evolution. And it's also highlighting that right now we are able to grasp more profoundly how important the impact is of you going on a journey home towards yourself, going on a deeper level of understanding of why it matters to the world that you express yourself, that you really allow yourself to shine and emit that for which you have come here, the games you've come here to play, your inner child, the ways in which you choose to dance and live and laugh and love and draw and paint and explore life. And for anyone who's thinking right now, well, I don't really love painting and I'm not a dancer and I just like really love doing this weirdly unique specific hobby of mine, that's your thing. That may be your expression and your calling. So another big important message here is we need to drop comparison if it is not for the sake of helping us understand what we truly desire and what we like, understanding something deeper about yourself. But other than that, it is not your job and your purpose to become someone else and to follow in someone else's footsteps, but to follow your own footsteps. And maybe you can use other people as inspiration, as guidance for that, but ultimately allowing and daring yourself to go your path, to bring in your personal, unique message, because we need that. We need all of the parts to be able to reflect. And as I said, in the most honest way, the more honesty we present to each other, the more abundant our wisdom will become. And then we will really start encouraging each other and we will support each other's growth instead of limiting it. So with this North Node energy, these insights may be really deep you're having right now. They may seem really important and they may cause these bigger deeper longings and these bigger aha moments. And so really embrace right now all of the wisdom that you're feeling and you're receiving, and understand that yes, it is important. And yes, those thoughts you're having right now, they are perhaps your guiding light right now. They are perhaps an invitation to follow and to take those next steps. Another beautiful aspect is a sextile right now between the new moon and Mars and Jupiter. Mars and Jupiter are also sextiling the North Node because there's that trine to the new moon. So this kind of sitting in the center of that trine and communicating from both directions. Mars and Jupiter will also be getting very, very close and will be conjuncting then in the middle of August, on August. And this conversation between Mars and Jupiter in Gemini is this merging of energies that are both very outwards expressing, these kind of extroverted energies, combined with a deeper wisdom that is Jupiter bringing in the teacher quality, that is bringing in the joy for life, the access to vitality and to energy and to growth, and a sense of loyalty and protection that is really wanting you to guard your own self and to protect your own integrity by taking actions. And Gemini is really focusing on those actions as a conversation and as something fluid and flexible. So understanding where adaptability is needed right now, where flexibility is needed, where a little bit of change may be the key to more wealth, may be the key to more joy, may be the key to feeling expanded. And at the same time, Jupiter is known for expanding, but that expansion seems infinite. And we as mortal human beings here in this dimension are not only able to expand infinitely all the time, but we need contraction, we need integration, we need a sense of balance. So that Jupiter may have us feeling a bit of an overwhelm energy as well. So feeling like we may get overwhelmed with the amount of actions that we feel we need to take, or feeling this like huge sense of urgency, and at the same time maybe feeling like some of those actions cannot be taken right now, or there's some kind of misunderstandings, or feeling like you are not sure how to communicate those things, or just the thoughts and the ideas that you are having right now seem to just be too much, too many, too fast, and too overwhelming. At the same time right now, we have Mercury conjunct with Venus. They're sitting ahead of the moon and the sun in the sign of Virgo. And Mercury is actually retrograding the next day. So with this new moon, we're also beginning a big phase of reflection, of moving backwards, going in a different direction, going inwards with our sense of communication, which is Mercury, with our sense of travel, with our sense of how we move through the world, how we make exchanges, how we have interactions, and how we communicate information, how our nervous system functions. So at the same time as we feel this urge to move forwards and having these deep realizations and understandings, the energies right now are not really aligned with taking huge leaps and huge steps forwards, but also really right now going in the opposite direction, going in that direction of moving seemingly backwards. But with this North Node aspect, I feel that we probably are not feeling like we're going back into the old world, back into the past, into the old life. But it feels for me more like we are really understanding the bigger weaving of everything. And we are really understanding, wow, I'm looking back at this and now it makes sense for why it matters right now. Or really revisiting things and feeling a huge sense of relief, or like, oh, that was on my mind this whole time and now I finally have a chance to go and deal with it. And this kind of energy of feeling almost relaxed about moving backwards a little bit and craving that desire to finish things up, to do things properly. And Venus there in Virgo as well. We may be feeling right now a bit more ease around the topics of how to organize things differently, how to notice the details that may be supporting something and helping a project to be fulfilled in a better way, or a small little detail that may be just the one limiting factor, and moving and changing that may be like a huge opening, a huge success. I feel that it's a great opportunity to really embrace this energy, and we have these beautiful alignments that really help us emotionally understand the beauty of that, the beauty of organizing, of analyzing. For example, yesterday I was in the rehearsal room, and when things started flowing not so well anymore and there was a bit of friction, instead of just moving on and pushing through it, we actually sat down and took some time to practice rhythms, to practice working with a metronome, to practice musical conversation and improvisation between each other. That was a lot of fun, and at the same time, I learned so much just by doing. It felt like I had these huge realizations about rhythms and beats that I didn't understand for many years, and all of a sudden it was just really easily flowing. So understanding that taking some time to practice something, to really get more secure and foundational about details, is also really helping to weave in all of this free floating information from years and years that may have just been like there the whole time, but not really graspable. And now taking some time to just like bring it all in and weave it all together. That's how this energy feels for me. And revisiting also maybe some of the talents that you used to have, some of the expressions you used to pursue, and then they felt kind of unimportant. And now maybe some of those are coming back to just give a little bit of advice here and there. For example, working with rhythms and playing the drums yesterday was really helpful for me. I actually used to learn playing the drums before I even started learning the guitar or was writing my own songs. So revisiting that passion of mine for drumming that used to be really strong is now also helping me as a whole with my whole project, with my whole being and all of my expressions. We do have one square also that gives us a little bit of juicy internal tension to help us move. That brings us a little bit of internal drive and momentum to maybe make some changes or just have some energy available to really drive us to the next step. And as I said already, Mars and Jupiter are sitting there close to each other in Gemini, and that square is between Saturn in Pisces. Saturn is exactly this polar opposite figure to the Jupiterian energy. It is contraction rather than expansion. It is dedication and commitment rather than joy and abundance and play. It is a limitation and restriction. You may be feeling this back and forth, this internal struggle between how to limit things and at the same time feel a sense of growth, how to really commit and dedicate ourselves to the mastery that we want to achieve, and at the same time making space for joy and play and expression. With Saturn retrograding right now in Pisces, we are still in a bigger process of reflection upon our values, upon our spiritual belief systems, and these bigger structures that really influence how we access information, how we communicate with spirit, and how we really make decisions also, how we access our foundational values, how we access that empathy. So with that square, I feel we're also still in this bigger process of really cleaning up our belief systems, our patterns, the things that are not serving you, the propaganda and manipulations that you've accumulated over years and years of living and being exposed. And really we're in a bigger process of cleansing right now. So while we have this drive to move forwards, we're still in a process of checking. From where does that come? Is that actually in alignment with my present self? Is that actually going to help me move forward? Is it an illusion? Is it a manipulation? Who told me that? Do I believe that with my heart? Is it a core value of mine? And asking all of those beautiful questions to be in a state of reflection. Overall, I feel like we're in this moment right now where a lot of the things that have happened in the past months, we are revisiting again. And we have a lot of planets right now in retrograde, bringing us this energy of looking back and reflecting. We are still extracting wisdom, and there is still so much wisdom to be extracted from that. And that's beautiful energy, because for me, it feels like moving deeper and deeper into a sense of understanding and awareness that brings kind of a relief, that brings a sense of trust, of trusting that things are woven together and that things do make sense in the bigger context, but also understanding how some of the decisions that you may have already taken in your mind are really maybe going to help you move forwards. And so bringing you a sense of courage, a sense of bravery to take actions on those ways of being, on those changes that you've wanted to implement. Following the cycle of the year from the pagan and Celtic traditions, we are celebrating on the 1st of August the festival Lammas or Lugnasad. And this is a moment where traditionally the first bread was baked from the freshly cut grains. The harvest of the year is beginning to be celebrated. And at the same time, it's an early harvest. Things that are harvested first need to be processed. And fruits that are collected that want to be turned into something else, that need time to ferment, they need to now first sit in the darkness. And they need to first go into a process of fermentation. So we're harvesting and we're already tasting some beautiful things. And at the same time, we also need patience right now. We need to cultivate an understanding. And this is also a teaching of Saturn, is that sometimes we need to say no to something in the moment because we understand that we are actually saying yes to something else that cannot be felt yet because it is not time yet. So when you're saying no to eating those grapes right now, for example, and instead fermenting them and turning them into a juice, into a wine, and into a vinegar or something, that you will say yes to having that vinegar in a few weeks. And understanding how life gives us these options. At the same time, understanding what needs to be eaten right now, and that tasting a little bit of things right now is also necessary to give you fresh energy and move you forwards. So lastly, I want to talk again about this Mercury retrograde. So we have some interesting things happening here. So Mercury will be traveling all the way back through Leo until August 29th and will then be stationing in 21 degrees of Leo. At the same time, Venus is moving forwards right now in conjunction with Mercury, but still in 29 degrees of Leo, will be moving all the way through the sign of Virgo to 29 degrees. So 30 whole degrees of experiencing all of the Virgo archetype, and understanding all of the different degrees of knowledge and wisdom that we experience through sovereignty, that we experience through being in service, of being in commitment to something, but first and foremost a commitment that comes from our sovereign desire and understanding, from an uninfluenced self that understands from a deeper level, a deeper knowing, what being in service actually means, and also how to cultivate that in a mundane, everyday way, in a practical sense, in a physical manner, connected with the earth, how to bring that sovereignty into how we deal with the lands, and cultivating joy and love, connecting our heart through the lands, with the lands, understanding your body, understanding the connection of the bigger body to your own body, of the social body to your individual body, and reclaiming a sense of purity there, and accessing your inner pure light, your inner guiding light. Mars will be in 26 degrees of Gemini, which means it will be in sextile to that Mercury. And on the other side, it will also make a sextile to Chiron. And it will also have passed through that Jupiter conjunction. Chiron is in Aries, as you may remember. So what this really highlights for me right now, and I'm also seeing this in life, and it's information that's coming through every single day more clearly, and also because it's connected to Leo and being initiated with this new moon of Leo, it really makes sense for me that this is the topic right now, is healing the inner warrior archetype. Yeah, this is primarily, to me, it feels like the masculine inner warrior. But we also have an inner feminine warrior, and all of that warrior archetypeness right now is invited into a conversation and understanding more about how toxicity is playing out and what it actually needs to thrive in a helpful and supportive way for life, and not become a toxic, destructive force that is unchecked, that is either repressed and therefore becomes super toxic and just exploding out in really like damaging ways, or that is over exalted and is just used and abused in a manipulative way, where then it also becomes a destructive force. And clearing out all of the associations that we have, even when we hear the word warrior. Yeah, we think of war. And that's because the warrior energy has been used for leading wars, and that's something horrible. At the same time, this warrior energy inside of yourself, the archetype, it has a purpose. Everything has a divine purpose. So what is its divine purpose? It is an energy that needs to fight. And we know that because we have a lot of positive ways of fighting as well. Competitions, sport events, playing games, play fighting, wrestling with each other when you're children, and it's still fun and it's not hurtful, but it's just an exciting way of expressing energy, of releasing and of accessing an inner fire, accessing an inner knowing. Also things like debating, having a debate club or going into a conversation, and the joy of going back and forth, of being able to stand your ground and make points, and having all of that in a competitive, playful and contained way, where it is invited, where it is welcomed. A lot of people enjoy also this warrior energy perhaps through sexuality, but when it is consensual, when all parties are in agreement, then that warrior energy is allowed to bring its natural gifts into your being, to ignite your energy, your desires, to help you release and transform and transmute and access your powers. And we need to understand how to heal that this warrior energy has experienced so much trauma that it really needs tending to. It needs to be healed, it needs to be heard, it needs to be listened, it needs to first and foremost be acknowledged that it exists. Because when we just throw it down into a well and forget about it, we may still hear it howling in the middle of the night. We may still feel it present, but unhappy. And we may try to shut it out of our homes and push it away into the deserted lands, into the forests, but it may find a way to still have then a negative impact. I'm actually reading a book right now called Eisenhans. I forgot the name of the author, but I will write it somewhere here. It's interesting because I was last year, or maybe 1.5 years ago, dealing with the feminine archetypes of going through a ripening process, and also understanding how to maintain sovereignty within the process of establishing partnerships as well. And that was done with a German fairy tale, the Frog Prince, the Froschkönig. And then I was dealing with the mythology, and this was done with the Greek mythology, and another book that I read that was dealing with the feminine archetypes and the different types of goddesses, as being focused goddesses or receptive goddesses, and how they consciously and subconsciously play themselves out through your life, through your actions. And it was a really valuable insight. It's really, really valuable to look at the old stories and to really go into a process of thinking and learning about what do those symbols mean? What are those myths actually telling us beyond just having an entertainment value, but actually that all of these stories, and that the ancient art of storytelling is used to convey information. And that information is often wrapped in many symbols, so that because that is the language of the subconscious. And that is how this information can be retained. So the story of Eisenhans, which is the Iron Hans, I guess, it's a classical story that was told by the Brothers Grimm, but actually it's based on a very, very old and ancient story that was shared across centuries and generations, that is seen as a blueprint for a process of initiating a masculine archetype, and that really connects with the warrior archetype. So I will read more from this book. I just started it, and hopefully I will be able to share even more in the next video. But right now, this is an invitation to really check, what does your inner warrior need? How is your inner warrior hurt? And I feel this is a really important collective and global process that we're going through right now, because we see right now, how this hurt warrior archetype of countries, of generations, of groups of people, how it is playing out in such a toxic way that is causing enormous damage to the world, to us, to every single one of us. That when these unchecked and unfiltered and unquestioned warrior archetypes are just set loose and just causing destruction and abusing and raping and killing and torturing and doing all of these horrible things, that affects all of us. And it is a loud, loud scream for those archetypes to be spoken about, to be checked, and to learn how to actually fight with integrity, how to fight within set boundaries, how to fight out an argument in a way that both people feel respected and inspired. Because we need to fight. We cannot avoid having arguments. We cannot avoid having fights. But we do need to avoid abusing and manipulating and harming. We need to learn how to actually fight in a way that honors the divine need and urge, giving it a home and a space, but ultimately understanding the restrictions, understanding the higher values, the morals, being in service to actually healing, being in service to actually conflict resolution, and not just spurting out hurt ego wounds. A fighting that has the purpose of resolving and bringing upon peace. And we all need to do this. We need to collectively do this, but you also need to individually do this. And I really, really wish for this world to wake up, to understand what is happening, and that we are no longer afraid of looking these archetypes in the eye also within ourselves. Understanding that that is also a part, yeah? We do activism in the outside, we do activism in the inside, and we establish balance. So this is going to be a very, very interesting months ahead. And I wish that you are in a beautiful process. I hope that you have also incredible times ahead of having deep realizations about yourself, that you embrace your authentic being, that you allow yourself to express yourself to the world, that you allow yourself to be seen, to be heard, to be listened, expressing your soul gifts to the world. If you enjoyed this, then please like it, please subscribe. That would really help me a lot to continue making these videos and move forwards also on this journey. If you're interested in my music, I will link everything below. If you want to contact me for a reading, we can look at your personal transits right now. I can help you with questions you may have. You can check my website and book a reading. If you're open to sharing personal insights you're receiving right now, I would love to read them in the comment. It makes me so happy and inspired to exchange information. We all have so much valuable thoughts and words to share with each other. So thank you all for being here. It's a blessing and a gift, and all my love to you. I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.